This week's reject is the second chapter of my young adult high fantasy novel, Everwell, the story of Jeff the Boy's lost year. It was rejected by Thistledown Press. Thistledown Press? More like Thistle Turn Down Great Works of Literature Press. I'm a reject, you're a reject. I'm a reject, oh, oh, oh. I'm a reject, you're a reject. I'm a reject, oh, oh, oh. Chapter 2. Britt. Jeff needed to know more. After he told his mother the story so far, she suggested that he talk to Britt. She was his best friend when they were younger, so if anyone knew what happened to his year on that day at Suicide Hill, it was her. The last he heard, she was teaching at a small college nearby. It would only be a little out of the way to pop in and see her on his way home. When he got to her college, he parked in an already full parking lot. Small groups of students and professors were making their way toward the auditorium building. Jeff followed them. He asked a strolling couple.
Do you know who Brittany Phillips is?
Professor Phillips? Yeah, she'll be at the plate tonight.
The stranger said, pointing to the large auditorium.
Just follow the crowd.
The college was instated during the Depression. The ramshackle buildings and bright orange 70s rugs spoke of a rural college trying to make it in a world of urbanized education. The foyer hummed with activity. The play had not yet begun, and small groups of students and faculty dispersed and regrouped as social butterflies made their rounds. On wrinkled paper, the hand-painted banner that hung over the auditorium doors read, Joanna Glass's Trying. He noticed Britt in the crowd talking to a group of students. They were laughing as she told some story the listeners seemed to appreciate. As he watched her from afar, he noticed something in her face. It was something he knew as a boy but couldn't remember. It hid in the corners of her smile, the place where the edge of her mouth buried itself. She had changed. She was older, larger, carried more wrinkles, and her head was laced with gray hairs she hadn't bothered to dye. Her smile had not changed. It did not grow old. Rather, she grew old around it. Jeffrey reluctantly paced towards her. He hated seeing old friends. When he visited home, he changed sidewalks and ducked into stores at the mall just to avoid the inevitable catch-up conversation. He didn't like being reminded of where he came from. He approached Brittany from behind and forced a chuckle.
Hello, Professor Phillips.
Without turning around, she said his name.
Jeffrey Jefferson.
She turned around, and the students Brittany was talking to made new conversations in different directions. It was just the two of them. There was a moment of visual readjustment that seemed to extend much longer than it was. They stared, looking at the difference between their memories and the undeniable present. Some old friends take time to digest, and she was still mad at him for not coming to her wedding.
What are you doing here, Jeff? I didn't know you were a fan of the arts.
Oh yeah, I love drama, plays, acting. A big fan of Johanna Glass is Trying.
He fumbled unconvincingly.
Oh, well then, when you put it like that. Okay, let's catch up then. What's your job?
Business.
Kids?
Fish.
Wife?
Girlfriend? Kind of.
Well, that just about covers everything.
She patted his shoulder.
Glad we could catch up.
She moved her mouth to Jeff's right ear and whispered.
Listen, Jeff, I'm married now, and I have 2 beautiful children, and I'm really not interested in past boyfriends who've realized what they've missed, coming back to see me under the false curtain of sentimentality.
With that, she walked away. He called out after her.
I came here to ask you about that day at Suicide Hill.
Brittany turned around. She was remembering something. She rose her hand in action, about to speak, dismissed the idea, and lowered her hand. Lost in her own thoughts, she stood among the wafting crowd. She remained silent as people brushed by her. Jeff didn't know what to think. How long should he wait here as she tried to remind herself of events lost to decades? She looked up and locked eyes with Jeff. Against his own desire, he held her gaze. Was she angry? Confused? Had she had a stroke? And that's when she said what he could have never expected.
I knew it!
She regained herself, looked around, remembered where she was and what duties she had.
There's a coffee house called the Oasis on campus. Once this is over, be there.
Jeff sat at a small coffee house table going over all the possible conversation scenarios. He was nervous to hear what Brittany might tell him, and nervous at what she already had. She came in, direct and purposeful, and was in his face before her bottom hit the puffy vinyl seat.
What do you remember?
Nothing. I remember going to the hill and waking up paralyzed. People told me I fell. I guess I fell down the hill, off my sled on the rocks. I hit my head, right? There was trauma?
I'm going to tell you what happened, Jeff. I'm going to tell you because it doesn't matter anymore, because I should have told you then.
She cleared her throat and rolled her eyes to the top left side of her head.
Okay, do you remember the year before the accident, the earthquake? Tell me what you remember.
What earthquake? What does this have to do with the accident?
The earthquake is really where it all started, 1 year before your accident. The real mystery is the year before. You took me to the hill. You told me you saw an earthquake at Suicide Hill and heard a voice say your name. You said a giant cavern opened at the runoff. I didn't know whether to take you seriously or not because you love to tell stories. I made you take me to the hill, but there was no sign of an earthquake. There was no giant cavern. When we gave up looking for any signs of your story being true, another earthquake happened. I was always a better runner than you.
Jeff was stunned.
The earthquake? That happened? I thought that was a dream. It feels like a dream. I remember the first earthquake, the one I told you about, but I don't remember one where you were there. I was alone. How have we never talked about this?
I'll get to that. So this earthquake goes off. I'm running ahead of you. The shaking and the noise stop. I turn around and you're gone. The ground looks undisturbed. Even our footprints have vanished. I thrashed through the snow looking for you. I went rasp, yelling your name, but you didn't answer. When I couldn't find you, I ran to the house and told your parents. We went back to search for you, but you didn't need finding. You were walking casually on that road, obviously unaffected. I asked about the earthquake. I was scared you were hurt. You told us there was no earthquake and acted like I didn't know what I was talking about. You made me look dumb and sound like a liar. I really hated you for that. I waited to bring it up to you again when it was just you and me, but you were really mean about it. You said things that were so hurtful, things an 11-year-old shouldn't know how to say. I didn't bring it up again.
I'm sorry, I don't remember that.
You were different after that. I couldn't put my finger on what it was. You were normal enough. There was nothing that you could point to that could be proved as strange, but you were different. I could tell.
She stopped to think for a moment.
Do you remember our version of Blood Brothers?
A slow smile dawned on Jeff.
Yeah, fart family.
We held in our farts to release at the same time.
We put our bums together and
Farted on each other.
They chimed together. The coffee shop patrons within earshot, now lapsed in their own conversations, stared at the two 40-somethings that found fart stories fascinating.
That was kind of gross, actually.
Brittany commented, trying not to smile.
Yeah, so dumb.
Jeff conceded.
Well, when you stopped doing fart family with me, it was like your funny bone was extracted. I came up with theories that you were kidnapped by aliens or possessed or somehow got all the fun knocked out of you. I examined you. I hid a crucifix under your pillow to try to exorcise you and read every book I could find on unexplained events. But after a while, I just chalked it up to losing a friend.
Jeff was taken aback.
Wow.
Brittany leaned forward.
Jeff, you did not make me laugh for an entire year. I waited. I yearned for you to say something that wasn't domesticated.
For a year? Then what happened?
The accident happened. They took you to the hospital. I was there when the doctor told you that you were paralyzed. I walked up to you, I hugged you, mourning over your loss. I couldn't hold back the tears. I was blubbering uncontrollably. I remember looking up and saw that you were smiling. You were such a weird kid when you were yourself. You said, "High five," and stared at your arm and said in this fake, sad voice, "Oh yeah, I'm paralyzed. Wah, wah, wah." When your hand didn't move, you said you would move it with the force. I couldn't stop laughing, and you were laughing too, and it was funny to watch you laugh because the only motion you had was above your neck. So your head was like bouncing up and down like a life-size bobblehead. I cried and cried, but I couldn't stop laughing either, and I knew you were mine again. The sparkle was back.
Britt was dabbing her eyes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Jeff said with a smile.
Because of the accident, you had memory problems. You didn't know why you were in 6th grade, and you kept putting the wrong dates on your assignments at school. It was usually smaller stuff, though. You didn't remember that your parents bought a new couch, and there were Christmas presents that you didn't remember getting. You said you had never seen Chariots of Fire, but you had seen it. in the theater with me and my parents. And the doctor said that some memory loss was to be expected. It was frustrating, but you accepted it. I've always wondered if there was something more to it, and now with you here, I believe there is. This is messed up, Jeff. Something happened to you that year. It's not just nothing. It's not just a knock on the head.
She took his hands.
I feel like I'm just showing you one piece of the puzzle. I know there are other pieces out there. Don't stop until you find them, and please let me know what you find. This has been one of the great mysteries of my life, and I would love to finally have an answer.
Jeff the man's drive back gave him time to think. When he reached the city limits, he didn't feel like going home. He went to a restaurant he liked. It advertised Thai and Canadian food. He ordered the chicken and black bean sauce. It was the only dish he had ever ordered there. Jeff the man ate his meal alone and contemplated his day. A tall stranger came into the restaurant. He looked like someone who played basketball or was always asked if he played basketball. When Jeff's gaze met the stranger's, their eyes locked. Instead of looking away like Jeff wanted to, the man smirked, and Jeff thought he recognized something in his eyes. This curious figure mumbled under his breath as he walked towards Jeff. The man was excited, as if he were seeing a long-lost friend. He stopped right over Jeff, smiling and chuckling to himself. Jeff was feeling annoyed and delayed, even with nothing to do and nowhere to go. The man's certain eyes, his obvious kindness, and the honest and sincere faith that he knew the man he was staring down was what saved the poor drifter from a severe attack of rolling eyes. Instead, the man received the timid question.
Have we met?
The man smiled.
Geoffrey, son of Jefferson. It's me, Wiel, son of Bryn. I'm in a bit of a disguise at the moment. I thought that you might not recognize me. It's so good to see you. I have not forgotten the vow of blood and your promise to us the last time that we spoke.
Jeff was lost for words. He couldn't think of one thing to say to this intruder of his personal space.
Why do you look at me like a stranger?
Wiel asked. Today was a day that pushed Jeff's shallow pool of patience to its limit. This particular moment breached the dam. He locked his bones and spat.
Whoever you are, Mr. Wiel, I don't know you.
Don't know me? How could this be? Is your name Geoffrey, son of Jefferson?
My name is Geoffrey Jefferson, yes. But my dad's name is Tom. I don't know how you know my name, but...
Wiel interrupted him. His animated voice now took an urgent tone.
Listen now. I'm going to say a word. You tell me if it reminds you of anything.
Jeff felt overworked and shortchanged on this information exchange. His head was filling with grown-up thoughts like, I have a right to eat a meal in peace. Look at the time I'm wasting talking to this old man, and there's no point to this conversation, so I should just end it. But Jeff inhaled through his nose and decided to play along, just to get the meal crasher off his back. Also, he hated confrontation.
Okay, but I'm just about to get my check, so I'll have to go soon.
Bosrael.
No, sorry.
The Avenue of Giants?
No.
The Hague?
Wiel raised his voice, hoping that this action might coax Jeff's memory.
I think I'm gonna give that a no. I think you should...
Darwood?
There. Jeff could not put his finger on it, but he knew that name. It was like hearing a song that you swear you've heard before, but can't sing along to any of the words. Wiel found his answer in Jeff's eyes.
My goodness, son. You don't even know who you are.
Darwood? Is that a place?
Listen, you don't know who you are.
I know who I am. My name is Geoffrey David Jefferson. I live on St. John Street. I have a great job, a girlfriend, a nice life. That's who I am. But what is this Darwood thing? Is it a type of tree? No, it's a comic strip. What is it?
Wiel showed his first signs of hostility. He grabbed Jeff by the shoulders and whisper yelled under his pressed breath.
Listen, you don't know who you are.
Then the kindness returned to his eyes. He let go of Jeff. He stood, breathing heavy.
I knew you wouldn't forget her. You couldn't.
You don't know me.
Jeff felt too ashamed to look at Wiel when he said this.
I don't know who you are. The problem is not with me, but in you. Can you tell me why freckles on your left arm make the shape of the Big Dipper? Why you have dreams of places you've never seen? And why hearing the name of the Princess Darwood again tears you up on the inside? No, you cannot, but I can tell you. You've forgotten who you are, son of Jefferson. I apologize for your confusion. I'll explain it to you, of course.
What's to explain?
Wiel laughed, his belief in Jeff's stupidity reaching a climax.
What's to explain? What's to explain, Jeff? Where you were 36 years ago, of course.